Geez, you're really getting a full setup here. Look, it's my lovely plants. If it just stays here in the corner, do you think that's cool? Do you guys like it? What if I put her here? Well, I kind of have all this going on. All right. Hello everybody, my name is Gabriana Nash and welcome back to the channel.
Unless I could cut right to the future and see that we run the race. Unless I would see us together.
Okay, a little update as of right now. It is currently freezing in Texas. They have canceled school 2 days in a row, y'all, and I gotta say, it feels great. Me and my roommate are having a movie night, part 2. I'm stoked. And it just feels good to have another break. It's the 4th week of school, I think, and you know, it's already hectic. I had like all these memorization deadlines due tomorrow, and now I get an extra day. Okay, and today I want to talk about 10 things I wish I knew before heading off to music school. Now, 2 little disclaimers. My very lovely universal disclaimer is, of course, a lot of the things that I'm going to mention are pretty specific to my music school only. I did a little research into some of these points that I'm going to bring up, and some of them are pretty similar to other Texas schools that have a music program. But that's about as far as I can say. So very specific to my school, and I think there's a lot of parameters that can kind of like inflict some of the things I'm going to talk about as well. Like, for example, I'm part of a music program that's part of my school in general. I don't go to a school that's specifically just for music, so I think that's a whole different world over there. I don't go to a conservatory, as to be more specific. So there's a lot going on there, but end of the day, like, I think these are some pretty good things to know in general. And I truly can't say if I would have changed my mind or did something differently if I knew it back then. But I think it's just universal thing. Really think hard about the school you're going to go to. And I think personally that any school in any of their majors can do better, should always strive to do better in terms of modernizing their curriculum. I think that's kind of a stable basis point as to some of the things I'm going to bring up today. Yeah, let's just get into it. First things first. This one's going to sound a lot worse than it is, but my music school specifically, you can't graduate early. I'm pretty sure my very first advising meeting I had when I got here, the advisor was like, yeah, you're not going to be able to graduate early. And the reason I was hoping to was my parents really pushed me to get dual credit hours, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically you take a college course and you can get a high school credit and a college credit from it. So usually the classes I was taking were core prerequisites, because sometimes taking classes that go to your majors, that can be really difficult with the school you go to. So the prerequisites you're mainly going to be pretty safe with. And I needed the credit for high school and college, so it was a good 2 birds, 1 stone thing. So I came in with 24 credits, basically a whole freshman year knocked out. And it's still going to take me 4 years regardless to finish my degree. There's a lot of little things that I'll get into later as to why that happens, I think. But just the very first thing to think about, there's a lot of coursework to do in the music school, and it's really common to see people, as we like to call them, super seniors, which are people who have been here for more than 4 years in the music school. So the next point is the credit hours in the music school don't necessarily match up. There's a lot of classes that we take that you spend a lot more time there during the week, but you don't get the same amount of credits for them. I'm pretty sure my voice lessons, which is probably one of the only classes that I don't have some sort of credit deficit with, which is nice. But with all the others, none of them really match up. My freshman year, I was in, I took written theory, and then we also had a thing called oral theory, which is where you listen to stuff and you sightsing. The written parts where you know your key signatures and write things down, all that. And they were combined as one giant class, and I'm pretty sure we only got 3 credits, even though we were there every day for an hour. So Lovely, isn't it? Or even with the ensembles. I'm in a class where it's 6 hours a week and you get 1 credit regardless, and that's kind of the universal thing with the ensembles at my school specifically. So I think that is definitely one of the reasons as to why you don't graduate early, because you have a lot of coursework to do, and even though you're taking so many classes every semester, you're not taking as many in terms of credit wise because they don't match up. So the music school prerequisites, most of the time when you start college, your first 2 years are pretty much dedicated to your core prerequisites, right? But my music school specifically, your first 2 years are dedicated to music school prerequisites. So for a multitude of reasons, like if you decide to change your major, that could be kind of bad, especially if it's something outside of the music school, because you'd be really behind, or it's just like a lot and you can barely fit in your core classes. Truthfully, like honest tip, I think it's pretty hard to even graduate within 4 years, technically on time, if you don't come into college with any of your core or with any credits coming in. So that is also something to think about. I was only able to fit in 1 or maybe 2 max of core prerequisites that I had left to take. But it was just because I had so many music classes that I just really couldn't fit it in, and all my cores were pretty much credited more than any of my music classes. So it was really hard. And you have class like every day. Sometimes I would meet kids who wouldn't have class on Fridays or Mondays, whatever, and that is just never us. It's never us. You have a really busy and long schedule, and you have class every day. I'm pretty sure also ever since I've started school, I've always had at least 3 classes a day. So another thing to think about. There's just a lot to do. 4th point. This point is very specific to kind of myself, but a lot of people I know, a lot of people I met, and a lot of people I met even when I started school there. My background, as I'm sure I mentioned before, is in pop and gospel. And ever since I was a kid, I knew I wanted to be a pop entertainer. And I came to college wanting to get classical vocal training because I knew the training was going to be really good, and I can take that training with any genre I want to do. And I also always had the mentality, just from what I used to do in high school and stuff, that I would come to college and I would find my opportunities to feed like my pop soul or to do my own music outside of school. And I think that kind of go-getter attitude is really great. But if you're solely going to a school and thinking about gaining your opportunities outside of school because your school doesn't have any opportunities for you, I think that's where it gets problematic. At some point, I very much just got out of that mentality. I think your undergrad years are very valuable, and there should be opportunities for you to perform there or do whatever you want to do there. And I just don't think that you should have to try so hard. Your school should be able to provide you with the things you want to do there. So that's why it's just really important with picking a school that does have the things you want to do there. Next point. This point is kind of funny. I don't really know how to phrase this. I will say me and my roommate, she helped come up with some of these topics, and she put this down. She said, don't come in with a big ego, which I know what you're thinking. Like, who is doing that, right? Because you might have been so good at high school, and then when you get to college, everybody's good. But believe me, people still think that they are the best. And listen, I'm not here to judge. I said that our school doesn't really have too much of a competitive, judgy nature, and that's great. But there were some people, definitely my first year, who talked themselves up a lot. And with people that you spend every day with, all 4 years with, that's just not the way to start off, okay? Music school will humble you quick, okay? And especially if the faculty and the professors are good there, we're all just here to learn. Nobody wants to hear about how good you think you are and all that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. If you want to make some friends, just still have that kind of energy. The next point, I feel like this kind of goes hand in hand with the last point I just made. So in my school specifically, out of the undergraduate performance opportunities that do exist at our school, they seem to not get promoted as much as some of the big productions that involve a lot of people or things that involve even just the grad students. And with the music school, we have a very big graduate program, so that explains one of the reasons. But most of the music school in general consists of undergrads. We consist of the majority, and I find it really interesting that even the things that do involve us don't get promoted as well or as much. And I think that's also something to think about. You know, you work so hard to get to this point in your life, to get into music school, and then there's not things that you can do, and then it's not promoted as much as you would like it to be. And that kind of goes into it shouldn't be that hard. All right, next point. This one's kind of on the positive side. Something our music school does really well is music theory. If you ask anybody who knows anything about music theory, always will be like, oh God, like music theory. Like even when I took it in high school, I was very scared for how it was gonna go at my school, because music theory is hard. It's like another language, and it's just really hard to comprehend, and some people take it at a very fast pace. But our school specifically does a really good job at the pace of teaching music theory. At this point, with the second semester as a sophomore, theory has been the kind of class that I don't worry about too much, which is really nice when you're taking so many other classes, because out of all your classes, theory has the assumption that it's one of your hardest classes, right? But the way it's done at UT, it's really nice, and it's taken at a good pace. So it's something where if I just go to class every day and I take my notes, like I'm not worried about it, and that's a really nice feeling to have. Okay, next point. Our music school's curriculum sometimes doesn't make a lot of sense, personally. There's a lot of things in my degree plan that's not in some of my other friends' degree plans that I feel like one or the other would need more. And I think solely that tip, you just want to do a lot of research into the actual classes that you will be taking there. I will personally say that when I was looking into going to college in the music program, I didn't do this kind of extensive research into the kind of classes that would be part of my degree and stuff like that. And, you know, I kind of got a little shocked coming here. I mean, I knew I wanted to get vocal, like classical training, and I wanted it, but I didn't want it like that, if that makes sense. Like, I knew I wanted to be a pop artist, but some of the diction classes, some of the other stuff, like, I don't find it too beneficial to what I want to do after I graduate. And that's going to be kind of hard to find one without the other, but it is something to think about. You want to have a really good plan for your life as to what you're taking in college, and make sure that it actually matters and it benefits you. Because if it doesn't, it's really hard to stay motivated. And I feel like that's how you kind of get drained and burned out. So take a deep dive into the stuff you're going to be taking in school, no matter what your major is, honestly. You can, of course, always, as I would say, to like take classes you want to take, regardless of it being part of your degree plan, which almost sucks, I know, because there's so many classes you have to take in music school, and who wants to take something that's not going to be actually accounted for in their degree? But, you know, if it's really going to help you in the long run, I say just do it anyway. Next point. I think also with my very first universal message about, I think schools in general should do a better job of modernizing their curriculum and the kind of music they teach. This is something you also want to pay a lot of attention to when choosing the music school you want to go to. When I told people that I had a pop and gospel background, one of the number one things people would always ask me is like, why did you go to Berkeley? Why did you go to Belmont? Blah, 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 right? And questions that I think about almost daily. And it's almost hard to, because our school is a little outdated. I would personally say a little outdated as to the kind of music that they do teach, the kind of music they talk about, the kind of music we perform. And it's like ever since after my first semester or my second semester, because we took this class called Music and Culture, which was a lot of work but truly an eye-opener. And I've been ever since on a like journey to pick music that's like diverse. So I think it's also really good to choose a university and see what kind of what kind of music are they playing at their concert? I mean, it's still to this day, I mean, I'm only ever seeing canon names, and I respect the canon, you know, like those composers are great. I don't think we should isolate them at all, but in order to change the canon, you have to change what you're playing. You want to choose a school that's open-minded to that kind of thing. Choose a school that has people that are going to support you and that kind of thing as well, because it's important. On the very last of the list, this one is kind of comedic. This one my roommate did also help come up with, so thanks, Bae. This one's very funny though. So personally, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I was very much like, oh my gosh, music majors, there's gonna be so many of them here. There's all these people, like, maybe I'll find my future bae or boo in the music school. And how cute would that be? We would both be musicians, like, we both get it, right? Listen. That's just not the case anymore. And I don't know if it's because I see those people every day or what. I mean, we've all definitely thought about it, for sure. We've all definitely thought about dating a specific person in the music school. But at some point, it's just like, me and my roommates have all gotten to a point where it's just like, I can't date anyone in the music school. I just can't do it. Because we just be going through the same thing almost every day. And I think it's also funny because we have this running joke of like, voice majors definitely can't date other voice majors because we would just complain about our lives and stuff like that. And I would see them all the time. Like, you would literally see them all the time. So even if you broke up, like, how are you going to get away? It's just hard. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I very much came in with the mindset of future baby boo is going to be in the music school. And now it's like, no. I need to get out. I can't do it. Y'all can't do it. And I have a different experience too. Like, I'm queer. And I also thought there were going to be a lot more queer people in my music school. No, I was wrong. And that's been really tragic for me. But even if you're straight, this is a universal message to you, because both of my roommates are straight and they also believe in the same philosophy. Thank you all for listening to my little tips today. Let me know if you want me to make a part 2 or talk about some more things in depth. I have a lot of little things kind of like this, and I'm happy I was able to talk about it today on this video because I've been trying to find a way. But yeah, as always, leave whatever you'd like in the comments, and I hope to see you in the next video. All right, have a good one.